something living inside the Earth? What if deep within the center of the Earth there is another civilization? In the 17th century, a scientist named Edmund Halley put forth the theory that the Earth was hollow. Conspiracy theorists have believed for generations that this is true, and the civilization in question is called Agartha. However, it wasn't until Operation High Jump, the world's largest expedition to Antarctica, where Admiral Richard Byrd and his team allegedly discovered the entrance to the hollow Earth civilization. And like all his other expeditions, he recorded down all his discoveries in his private journal. He published official statements about this discovery, but quickly, government agents confiscated everything. They threatened Admiral Byrd's life, demanding that he remain silent. The government has told us that a hollow Earth is impossible, but if that's true, why would they go through so much to keep this story from getting out to the public? That's why many people are asking the question.
Many researchers have also published material about Operation High Jump and Admiral Byrd's journeys, where extremely advanced airships, disc-shaped UFOs, were seen flying around and even engaging him militarily. Not long ago, a top-secret map belonging to the Third Reich was recovered, in which there are several secret passages depicted which were used by German U-boats to access mysterious underground regions, as well as complete maps of both hemispheres and the mysterious kingdom of Agartha. The possibility that the Earth is hollow and that it can be accessed through the North and or South Poles, and that ancient secret breakaway civilizations flourish within it, has spurred the imagination of people for many years. Following the official end of World War II, these recently declassified maps have added fuel to the existing speculation. We have also come across a letter supposedly written by Karl Unger, who was aboard the German U-boat 209, commanded by Heinrich Bode, in which he states that the crew had reached the interior of the Earth and that they did not consider coming back. The official Nazis' instruction to reach Agartha by submarine. So basically, just this is me talking, if this is true, that means that you can go into the under the Earth. Researchers have. If this is true, that means that you can go into the under the Earth. Into the inner Earth through a submarine, which means water is underneath in pockets, like caverns. You know, like when you go to like Mammoth Caves and they have all these lakes and stuff. And if you've ever heard of China Lake. They have access from the coast for submarines to come to China Lake in the desert. So what it appears is there's a series of tunnels and stuff that can be mapped out, and submarines can go underground in the water underneath, and it could be that you can go underneath all the continents. I don't know if you know where to go. It's just a side note, but the reason I bring that up is I'm making a connection here to the Hunter Biden. He had the tattoo on his back of the Finger Lakes. One of those Finger Lakes was a place where submarines were training for the armed forces after World War II. And there's another deep lake that has submarine access as well. And then you've got Ghislaine Maxwell, who has a submarine. Then you've got Ghislaine Maxwell, who has a submarine license. And we find out that submarines are being used to transport kids and stuff like that in the child trafficking realm. So there's a connection to submarines there and the under Agartha or the under the Earth, because they say it's like people thought it's just solid rock going down, but it's actually like a sponge. It has pockets like caverns where there are, possibly breakaway civilizations or ETs hiding out, or that sort of thing. And here's the translation in English. This is to this place called Agartha. The stories above are backed up by maps made by famous cartographer and artist Heinrich C. Baron for the National Geographic Society in 1966. In this map, the Antarctic continent can be observed without its thick layer of ice. So that's what it looks like without the ice. And I mean, you can see at one time Lemuria and Atlantis were there as well. But you can see the outline of the old continent. And it was connected to South America. Then so lots of places to hide out. Here's another picture. It says, but the most intriguing detail are the presence of underwater passages spanning across the entire continent and seem to converge at the exact location, which is identified as the opening towards the hollow Earth or inner Earth. The Earth isn't hollow. Let me make that clear. It's they're talking about the lithosphere having underneath the surface just, these caverns, these like a sponge with lots of little openings and pockets and bubbles and stuff like that. I think, that's what they mean. We still have a core and a mantle and all that. It's not that the Earth is hollow. It's hollow in the sense that just underneath the surface, we've got a whole network of pockets of, caverns and waterways and like a whole world underneath the ground. And as you'll see in the video up here that I'm going to show you, it starts off by talking about something called extremophiles. And extremophiles were found first in places like caves, caverns. And it was a place where, or actually no, I'm sorry, the vents down in the ocean, so they don't come up to the surface, is what I'm guessing, is they can't. That's hence why they try to terraform the surface of the Earth with all of this chemical spraying and stuff. It could be they're trying to make it more like what's underneath the Earth so that these reptilian types, or what we call demonics, can come up. Now, I believe that the reptilians are controlled by demonics, in my opinion, by Lucifer and so forth. But that part is shady for me. I'm still working that out. Okay. So there's instructions to get to Agartha, and that all of these waterways head towards some place in the center, which they say is an entrance into the spongy, cavernous part of the, layer of the Earth. Here's another. See how all these little waterways lead to, they don't come up to the surface. He realized that by worshiping Lucifer and feeding Lucifer and his, the reptilians and all that, Lush, fear, even, they took all those slaves with them from the concentration camps. I mean, maybe they were fed, people and in a trade for technology. How did he get all this technology all at once? That's what I'm saying. He discovered this occult connection and was able to make a trade with the occult, with the Luciferian, Satanists, minions that live under the earth. The medium Maria Orsic was leader of this Vrilarian society, beautiful young ladies of the Vril, just less shot in pre-World War II Germany. The Sisters of Vril conducted research into psychic phenomenon, advanced propulsion technology, and saucer-shaped aircraft. Now, it's thought she channeled something that was giving her information on how to build a flying saucer, and they formed a society. People all over Germany that were interested in it became members. They were going to build like a flying saucer. The Nazis got wind of it, and then, took over. The Vril Society included some who were later become notable members of the Nazi Party, believed that many ancient civilizations owed their origins to refugees from Atlantis. They advanced the idea of a subterranean civilization ruled by an ancient parent race who had mastered free energy. This Aryan breakaway civilization was said to have survived the antediluvian cataclysms, which ended the Ice Age and continued to thrive below the surface of the earth. Ancient Greeks, Tibetan Buddhists, and Christians all located their iterations of hell in caverns under the mantle. Pilgrims used to journey to Station Island off the coast of Donegal, where they believed there existed an entrance to purgatory, while the old legends of Mexico describe a mountain cave near Oñajo inhabited by devilish creatures from the way down deeps. That's probably where all of our ideas of hell came from. The 18th century astronomer Royal Edmund Halley believed that unusual compass readings could be explained by the fact that the planet was composed of a hollow shell. Like I said, I don't believe that the Earth is completely hollow. I'm saying that it's the top layer has these pockets, these cavernous areas. Okay, so we've established that 1942, during the war, World War II, the Nazis began bringing stuff down to New Schwabenland. We also have established that since the 19...
While it is true that the sun is vital to the chain of life on the surface of our world, life also exists in places that have not been exposed to sunlight for millions, if not billions of years. Solar rays play a vital role for photosynthesis in plants, but hydrothermal vents provide heat and minerals from below the earth, which through chemosynthesis sustain extremophiles, a term for organisms that exist in extreme conditions. So for example, bacteria, which consume the minerals ejected out of these vents, become a food source for algae, which not only float on the surface water, but can also live totally independent of the sun by these hydrothermal vents, starting a food chain like here in the geothermally heated waters of Antarctica, supporting diverse organisms where sunlight is non-existent miles below the ice. There is a story about a people who broke away from their parent civilization and for whatever reason pursued a new home in harsh, icy conditions. This tribe of humans found that civilization could also be maintained from below by the volcanic thermal springs, which bring life-sustaining heat from below to subterranean caverns, even below miles of ice. The rare video that you are now looking at comes to us from scientists at the Australia Antarctic Division who have sent a robot below the thick ice and have released this footage showing off a colorful underwater glimpse of the rarely seen Antarctic habitat. Upon first seeing this, I couldn't help but be reminded of some of the scenes from the movie Avatar, which was full of colorful blues and pinks and purples. And that's what this reminded me of instantly. New Swabia, or Neuschwabenland in German, is an area of Antarctica that was explored by the German Antarctic Expedition, which discovered ice-free areas with warm, freshwater lakes and vegetation. These discoveries led to a cryptic announcement during World War II by then German Navy Grand Admiral Karl Donitz, who in 1943 stated that the fish within them has renewed people's interest in this subject, which still is considered by the media to be taboo, or fake news. But is it fake? Or is history about to be rewritten?
How advanced do you believe at this point in time that German technology is? And if you can, comment about the location down in Antarctica and about some of the facilities there.
I want to make one clarification here. Germany, in its European location, is one thing, but the German colony on the South Pole, point of line of research has been that all behind the smoke screen of the Cold War for all these years, the Americans and Russians and the Germans in the South Polar Colony have been the best of buddies in the very secretive research of the, let's say, the alternative 3 scenario, Moon and Mars survival and evacuation colonies, or the Star Trek scenario. It's my feeling that nuclear-powered anti-gravity craft has been built for 20, maybe 30 years by the superpowers and used in outer space, interstellar exploration. Basically what we see on Star Trek. It's a reality for us.
Within them.
With the technological development that they've done, there was certainly some involvement by Hitler in some very strange and unusual things. Do you believe that the Germans themselves had any type of connection with extraterrestrials or alien races during the early parts of their development programs?
Yeah, I've heard this story on numerous occasions. For example, I heard that there was a saucer crash near around Peenemünde, another saucer crash in the Bavarian Alps, which may have been used as an excuse by the German secret elite to peddle this flood of new technological information, this avalanche of information to trickle it down into German economy and industry without having to explain exactly where they got it from. But I do think that the Germans were heavily involved in, they had contact with extraterrestrials, several races probably, and the more time passes, the more I'm willing to accept the idea that basically extraterrestrials have always been in contact with the major terrestrial governments, and especially the secret societies, which are the 5th column for the introduction of a particular extraterrestrial philosophy in our society. The German secret societies like the Thule Gesellschaft, the Vril Society, and numerous others that I don't even know.
I believe that such a group could still exist down there. What
yeah,
kind of
actually,
evidence
the rumor
is there?
goes that there is a large city called the New Berlin.
And why haven't they tried to complete the goals of the Third Reich in the years since then?
Well, not that they have tried, they have completed them. They have produced a master race on the South Pole, according to the rumor. They have cured diseases. They developed genetic engineering to such a perfection that, I mean, the Germans had hybrids between humans and animals 50 years ago in the concentration camps. So where are they now after 50 years? But this is a research that goes on hand in hand with the other superpower governments. My feeling and suspicion is that the tall, blonde, Nordic-looking guys that we see so often in the little gray abduction scenarios, they are in Bud Hopkins' books, they are in the UFO documentary UFOs Are Real, the Travis Walton abduction from Snowflake, Arizona, where he confronted a tall, blonde Nordic guy in the big mothership, or possibly a German South Polar colony. These are the tall blondes, in my opinion. I mean, quite probably these are the Germans from the South Pole, hand in hand with the Russians and Americans, under the guidance and tutelage of many extraterrestrial races, and the old...
I believe that such a...
Where is this leading? Where's this going? Are these saucers that we're seeing...
Star Trek? Star Trek?
Are we... These saucers we're seeing, are they ours, or are they theirs, or are they something
all of the above.
Completely different?
No, it's all of the above. All of the above, but there is a major component that is built here on this planet.
Are there actual photos that survive the war that were taken of these Kugelblitz and these other flying machines?
Yes, I mean this big collection that from my trip in Germany and Austria this summer, I came with probably about 20 original photographs, some of them in color of some of these craft, including one negative. Of original negative that can be done, that can be digitized and studied. The most fascinating story that came out of Germany was that not only they flew to Mars with that Gross Honeybull, 70 yards in diameter Honeybull, Gross Honeybull 3, not only that they probably built the SS space station, the Andromeda space station, which was basically a flying submarine. It was built by submarine engineers in the aircraft and the Zeppelin hangar near Berlin, which is 300 yards long. The space station itself is only 100 yards long, so plenty of space to build it there. But it was basically a flying submarine. It was built by submarine engineers in the aircraft and the Zeppelin hangar near Berlin, which is 300 yards long. The space station itself is only 100 yards long, so plenty of space to build it there. But the Vril Society developed a unique and very advanced series of craft that started with a Vril 7, which were about 40 yards in diameter. The second prototype was given a name, Vril Odin. Odin is the Scandinavian god of thunder. The crafts were named Vril, and Vril in Germanic language means the life force. Basically, craft utilizing the never exhaustible, always automatically replenishable life force. And then in a book on ancient occult, German occult traditions, they had a chart of the runic characters, and this is the runic character for the life force. So it all drives together. The name of the craft, Vril, the meaning of the word Vril, and the pictorial symbol on the bottom all mean the same thing, the life force. So we were able to decipher this little puzzle here. 17 of the Vrils were produced. Quite probably they were tested. Basically a flying to decipher this little puzzle here. 17 of the Vrils were produced. Quite probably they were tested quietly, low-key testing, and then they were flown to the German South Polar colony. We will talk about it in detail pretty soon. And these are low-level photographs, the first real photographs of such craft in low-level flights over the testing grounds in Germany. It's probably the autumn of 1944. The leaves are gone from the trees. In this photograph, we can see the head of the pilot through the transparent perspex cupola of the craft. A very steep maneuver. Possibly the craft is moving in this direction upward because of all the edges. These and these edges are blurred. This happens usually with the edges, with the attacking and the trailing edge of the craft. What are those lines underneath? Parts of the drive. In this enlarged photograph, we see an even better picture of the pilot inside. These two dark spots here could be the sunglasses that the pilot was wearing. The craft could go 2,900 kilometers in the atmosphere, almost 2 times the speed of sound. It definitely able to decipher this little drives. The Thule tachyonators, the Thule tachyon drives were produced on assembly lines. They had an assembly line production of tachyon drives in their AEG and Siemens plants in 44 and 45. So in these underground caverns, they had more than enough space and fantasy and guts to build all these incredible flying machines. Armaments were added. These are machine guns in 3 turrets. On this photograph, we see some of the armaments here clearly visible. Something is sticking menacingly from the underside of the craft. A shot from the underside shows the Luftwaffe cross, either the 4 legs or 4 small machine gun turrets, and something that looks very suspicious. Something here that we would see very soon resembles like a tank turret with a gun sticking out. These were really the tank killers of the Hollywood 2 type. They were designed to fight whole tank armies. The skeptics would say, well, it's impossible to, what a stupid idea. It's impossible to put a tank turret on a saucer because, well, it's impossible to, what a stupid idea. it's impossible to put a tank turret on a saucer because it would never lift off. A tank turret is about 10-15 tons. It's alone is 2/3 or maybe half the weight of the tank. However, the Germans claim that these craft were 100 tons in weight, armed with brute steel plates. They did not have developed at the time the force field shields around the craft that they developed later on. That's why they're relying on brute steel armor. All the wars have been planned, financed, organized, orchestrated, managed, and run by a script, like a Hollywood film production is run by a script, by the secret societies and the bankers behind them.
Welcome to Exo News TV. I'm Michael Sala. William Tompkins worked for US Navy intelligence during the Second World War. He participated in top-secret debriefings of Navy spies embedded within the Nazis' most advanced aeronautical projects. Tompkins' job was to disseminate a summary of the debriefings to different US aviation companies and think tanks. William Tompkins worked for US Navy intelligence during the Second World War. He participated in top-secret debriefings of Navy spies embedded within the Nazis' most advanced aeronautical projects. Tompkins' job was to disseminate a summary of the debriefings to different US aviation companies and think tanks in order to help them better study and evaluate the many aeronautical projects underway in Germany. In his autobiography, Selected by Extraterrestrials, Tompkins has provided documents supporting his remarkable claims, including a copy of his mission orders that verified that he was indeed tasked to act as a disseminator of aircraft research and information. Tompkins also provided in his book copies of passes to enter and leave the Naval Air Station in San Diego with multiple packages. This substantiates his claims that he was carrying intelligence briefing packets to select US corporations and think tanks. The Navy spies revealed many astonishing facts to Tompkins and his superiors about the aerospace technologies being developed in Nazi Germany. Among the most remarkable is the Nazis were receiving assistance from an extraterrestrial race described as reptilians, who were acting as consultants in various German aerospace projects. In an exclusive interview with Exo News TV conducted in San Diego on February 25th, Tompkins for the first time revealed publicly the role of reptilian William
compartmentalized, but it was well known there. People who had to do the work had no knowledge at all of what it was for. It's that they had to go do it. And so floated it up just like it was feather. And so their learning curve showed that you can do these things all over using totally different standard mathematical or standard technical terms of the way you normally do it. And so thousands and thousands of different engineering groups were working different aspects of all of this. Just one second. Some of them had the vehicles. Others, they gave them the vehicle to reverse engineer. And so that they could become familiar with everything from the inside out. And so that different people, different organizations could handle this in different manners. I mean, it was a massive program. And the mission was compartmentalize people, different organizations could handle this in different manners. I mean, it was a massive program. And the mission was to take over the planet, kill off all the ones that are a problem, the rest of them make slaves out of them. Everybody on your planet. Then, second phase was to leave the planet with large squadrons of UFOs after you've got them all built and do the same thing to other stars, planets. That's the German one. Now, people, different organizations